Did you hear about our new sponsor, Learn It? One of the best ways to support your team is by investing in their growth through practical learning experiences. And that's exactly what Learn It delivers. Their short, live workshops focus on the essential human skills we all need, like empowering others, managing change, and team collaboration. As a Speak with People listener, you get a free 45-day trial for up to 20 people. Start today by heading to learnit.com/speakwithpeople or click the link in the show notes and start your journey to investing in providing great growth for your team. Welcome to the Speak with People podcast, where we believe that healthy communication is the key to unlocking your leadership potential. We are the go-to resource for leaders looking to greatly improve their communication skills, whether it's one-on-one interactions, team settings, public speaking, or digital communication. By improving these skills, leaders can create stronger connections and drive positive change within their organizations. Each and every episode, we sit down with experts from various fields from around the world, just like you're grabbing a coffee with them, to dive into real, practical conversations. Our goal is to help you transform your communication skills so you can lead more effectively, build stronger relationships, and make a lasting impact. So go grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's learn together. Well, what if you could build your brand, attract more clients, boost engagement, all just for $1 a day? Well, that sounds pretty impossible. But that's what we're going to talk about today on the podcast. I'm so excited. I've been looking forward to this interview for a long time. We have a marketing expert. I mean, he's globally recognized. He's worked with everybody. We were just talking off camera about he's had some 850 interviews on podcasts. Just amazing that he is so willing to share his wealth of information, his time. And I can't wait to dive into the $1 a day strategy. He's worked with major brands from around the world. We'll talk more about that. But if you're a business leader, entrepreneur, sales professional looking to scale your influence, this is the episode for you. So it's such an honor to welcome Dennis Yu to the podcast. Dennis, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Jason.
Well, a friend of mine told me about you, and I had, once I went to the website, I was like, okay, I know who this is. But a friend of mine was like, hey, you have to start listening, reading, researching everything. And out of the blue, one day I messaged you and just said, hey, would you be on my podcast? And you messaged me back. And so this is an honor to have you. I can't wait to dive into this conversation. For our listeners who may not know much about you, wondered if you could tell a little bit about your story, who you are, what you do, what's got you to this place.
Sure thing, Jason. I'm a former search engine engineer. I used to be a mathlete, so I competed in math contests. I flew around all over. And I was what was called a paper tiger, if you know, like those Asians that get really good grades but didn't know how to communicate. So I had a mentor who was the CEO of American Airlines. And he taught me about confidence, about communication, about charisma, about public speaking, about these things that I thought I could never do that. I could never get on stage. I could not even answer the phone. I had a phone on my desk when I was at American Airlines like 30 years ago, and it would ring and I would look at it and I wouldn't pick it up because I was so scared of communicating. I didn't know like what to say or how a conversation would end. And, fast forward a few years later, and I'm on CNN in front of millions of people arguing with Mark Zuckerberg about Cambridge Analytica live. And I learned that communicating and speaking and all that is really just very simple when you boil it down to basic relationships and context. And like just an hour ago, I had lunch with my friend Tom Hawkins, who runs a Chevy dealership in a small town in Minnesota. And I learned about him and how he's building relationships, but now putting that on podcasts and exposing those relationships. We made a 1-minute video on my phone, Jason, just now, just to prove it. Like, this is not just some like, it's like out here in the parking lot, we've made a 1-minute video. I'm honoring him, right? And I've just learned that when you take these 1-minute videos, I'm honored to be guest number 200 on Jason Speak with People podcast. And then you put it out there for $1 a day, and all the people that are in your network and my network will see who you are. And then when you say awesome things, that makes me look good. Like I've interviewed all these incredible people. I'm nobody, but I'm interviewing these people. How do they even want to talk to me? And then I share, yeah, I just had Eric Huberman on my podcast last week, and he's the fastest growing agency owner on the planet. He's buying companies left and right. And I'm asking him all these questions, and he's giving stunning results, stunning answers like what's his solution to AI? How does he hire people? How does he plan his time? How does he, all these things. And he's explaining all this stuff to me. And then I share that on Facebook or YouTube and LinkedIn. And Jason, I get all the credit. It's wild. So back to the original question, I'm just a search engine engineer, and all I'm doing is just reflecting what other people are saying.
Wow. Wow. Boy, I love that. I love if I could dip into your story for a second. I love what you talked about with math. Make it personal. Our family, we adopted a little boy from China about 8 years ago, and he's has autism. He's on the spectrum. So some of his communication, I've had to
Yeah.
relearn parenting communication through the autism. But his math, he struggles with handwriting, some social
Uh-huh.
emotional skills. But it was, like 5 years ago, his teacher calls us in and says, "Hey, this is Kai's work," and holds up the paper, and there's no work. It's just answer. And the teacher said, "Well, he just does it all in his head." And so it's for a non-math
Wow.
person, it's been a riot to watch him because he does. He'll look at the problem and he figures it out in his head. So it's great
That's
to
incredible.
hear, your story about that.
Yeah. I'm like an older Kai.
I love that. What's really drawn me to your story as well is just even the passion that you have for relationships and connections and deepening those.
Yeah.
When do you think that kind of happened? I mean, you talked about the mentor a minute ago, but you know did
Yeah.
somebody model that growing up? Is that something that happened in your teens or 20s? Would love your thoughts on that.
So I spent my childhood around not kids my age, but around Fortune 500 executives just by random. It wasn't like I was trying to climb the career ladder, but I went to a private boarding school called Choate Rosemary Hall, where all the billionaires and the sheiks and sultans of other countries send their kids. And so I went to school with the grandson of, Sam Walton, who's a billionaire. And I don't want to name drop, but I was with these kids and largely with their parents. And what I noticed about how they would operate is they operated kind of outside of time, which sounds kind of weird because there was like I look back and I think, okay, I'm with Jonathan Harnish and Bill Harnish, and his dad's a billionaire and the guy who funded Costco and Best Buy and all that. And we're going to the places they have to go ski and go do nice things. Yet when we're together, we seem to have all the time in the world.
Hmm.
And Bill would put his phone away and we would just be skiing. Or I remember one time we flew into Utah to go to like Bear Creek to go ski or something. And we stopped at a Costco. And of course, he's the one who funded the thing because he likes to go to Costco, right? And I noticed that because we went, Costco has those gigantic blueberry muffins. You can buy like six of them for like $8.
Oh yeah.
And I'm thinking, what's this guy's time? What's this guy's time worth? Probably something ridiculous, like $20,000 per minute or something, right? I mean, if he sneezes, that's like, thousands of dollars of time. Yet we're coming out of the parking lot, pushing the shopping cart full of like blueberry muffins and things like that from Costco to the rented Yukon he had. And I noticed out of the corner of my eye that there was a Nike outlet store. And I just blurted without even thinking, I'm like, I need a new pair of running shoes. And then he said, "Go, you know what, Dennis? Go over to go get your pair of running shoes, and I'll just be in the car waiting for you." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. We want to go skiing and do all this other stuff." He said, "No, no, no. You go ahead." And he really meant it. And so, when I went in there and found my shoes and tried them out and stood in line, it was when 35 minutes later I came out. I made a billionaire wait 35 minutes in line while I was trying to save $10. What do you think of that, Jason? So what does that tell me? People who really understand relationships, they're not governed by the clock or the
Wow.
time. They're not constantly looking at their phone. When you're having lunch with somebody, who's important, who understands how to play the relationship game, not play the game, but like understands the power
Hmm.
of relationships. They give you 100% of their attention. And that's what I've noticed because I've been very lucky to be around people that are like that. I see how they treat time and how they treat people. Like I was once, I got to have dinner with George H.W. Bush, which, through a friend of a friend. You want to go have lunch with George H.W. Bush? Yes. But I don't know what to say because I'm an idiot. But yes, I want to come. And he had all the time in the world. Of course, there was security and all that kind of stuff. But I felt like we had all the time in the world. One time I had dinner with Herb Kelleher, who was the founder of Southwest Airlines through a connection. And, me, him, and the CEO of American Airlines. And he was, smoking and drinking and telling stories. And I'm like, this guy made me feel so special.
Oh,
He treated me like a good friend, and we'd never met before. I mean, because I'm thinking, oh no, this guy, Herb Kelleher, he founded Southwest Airlines. What am I going to say? I'm nervous. But then we sit down, we start eating. He pulls out, a cigar and starts smoking it, and starts drinking, bourbon at the table and starts asking about me. And I'm thinking, I don't want to tell anything about me. Who am I to talk to the founder of Southwest Airlines? But that's what these people who have incredible relationship skills have is that they're able to somehow like make you feel so important.
wow.
I've never really gotten my head around that. I've always tried to figure out like well, I only had only a moment with I met George W. Bush, H.W. Bush once,
Mm.
but I feel like we're good friends, kind of, even though he's not, around anymore. And I met Herb Kelleher only once in my life. But man, I just keep thinking back to that moment and how it was just such an incredible moment. I have a lot of friends who've met Bill Clinton, and regardless of your political views, and they're like, "Yeah, Bill, remember? Yeah, 15 years ago, how was your time?" Like, just remembering all kinds of facts about people's lives.
Wow.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah. Wow. That's
Like,
amazing.
just an hour ago, I had lunch with my buddy Tom, who runs the car dealership, and remembering what I've learned about relationships, because he's a relationship guy. If you're an insurance person, real estate, cars, you're a professional services guy. He told me the story of how when he sold his first car going door to door to a farmer, and it was a Chevy Caprice, and he was 16. And the old woman asked, "Would you like to have a cup of coffee?" Which is this sign like, okay, you get 20 minutes with them. And she brewed an awful cup of coffee using Sanka crystals, but he did it anyway and sold a car.
Wow.
And so I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to like I'm listening so intently to him telling the story, trying to remember and reflect back those details. So next time I see him, I'm probably going to bring a little thing of Sanka crystals. And I'll say, this is just to commemorate, Tom, when you sold your first car going door to door, and that old lady brought you, made a coffee of Sanka crystals, just to show like I remember that detail.
I love that. I love that. I'm working on my first book, Speak with People, Not at Them. And I just actually today finished a chapter about how to be a story catcher. So often
Yeah,
especially in the marketing world, we talk about stories and be the hero, not, help be the guy, not the hero, all the things with stories. But we
yeah.
don't talk about exactly what you're talking about too often, how we've got to catch all those details and remember them. And I love that you're drilling that home for us. That's powerful.
Well, most people are so busy trying to talk about what they're going to say, they don't listen to what other people have to say. And I
Wow.
was thinking, like, okay, what are we going to talk about today? Because like, oh, I'm going to be talking with Jason in a little bit. What can I say that's interesting for our audience of professional service people? Don't tell them all the stories of like Nike and being on TV, and because they're not going to relate to that. Tell them things that are valuable that they would never hear, such as how do you become the most interesting person in the conversation? Keep reflecting it back to them.
Wow. So
And
good.
that's all I try to do. I don't even try to talk about how awesome I am. I just want to listen to what they have to say and then ask thoughtful questions that show I'm paying attention. It's literally that simple.
Oh, I love that. So, I mean, it's kind of what marketing is as well, right? I mean, there's so many of us. We're trying to build our businesses, we're trying to scale, and we're trying to find the right stories to tell and the right things to do. But
Yeah.
sometimes it seems like one of our mistakes is we try to make it all about us instead of
Yeah.
talking about our clients or our customers'
Yeah.
problems. What are some of those
Yeah.
big mistakes that we're making in marketing today?
So let me tell you an indirect way that I've found what these big mistakes are. I took a look at your 200 plus podcast, Jason, and I ran it through Google and ChatGPT and all the different AI tools. And you know what it told me, what the common theme was around all the people that you've talked to? The common thing that people were looking for? I thought it was shocking. I didn't discover this myself, but in hindsight, it looks obvious. Encouragement.
Mm,
You rank number 6 on encouragement in Google, including misspellings of the term encouragement. And of course, you rank on your name and speak with people. I'm a search engine engineer, so I can see the search engine data, right?
sure.
And the reason why this encouragement thing seems to be so prominent in what you're doing, Jason, is that when you're capturing other people's stories, when you are honoring them and edifying them, that's giving them encouragement because when they tell you the story and you're listening intently and you reflect it back to them, you're giving them a taste of who they would like to be. You're helping them understand themselves a little bit better. And if you're selling anything, any kind of professional services or whatever, people buy because of who you are, because of how they relate. So when they get to talk first, not you talking about how awesome you are as an insurance person or salesperson, or you're the better cardiac surgeon or whatever you do, but when you just reflect it back to them and they get a sense that are, you honor them, their presence.
Mm,
It's not like you're trying to manipulate people, but that's how people buy from you. You're really providing all the people that are listening to your podcast are learning how to encourage other people by being
mm,
an ally instead of trying to sell, trying to get someone to buy something. Would you buy my stuff? No one wants to be sold to.
right.
But when you listen and reflect back to them, people are craving some level of just connection with other people that understand the issue.
Mm. Oh,
People are so alone.
yeah, right. Absolutely. Oh, I love that. I love that. There've
They
been
just want someone to
moments.
talk to.
Right. Wow. Wow. I love that. There's been moments in the journey, as we're trying to, figure this out and to do the best that we can and to, reach the right people. And I love that we're ranking in encouragement because it's kind of my feel that most leaders, their encouragement tank is running on empty. The amount of negativity, discouraging things that filter through our brains every day from us and others to the amount of
Yeah.
encouraging things, it's so off that I hope, as our listeners listen to these conversations, that they are encouraged, that something does spark some type of transformation in them. Because at times, we all do it. We judge the numbers and we're like, oh, I wish, boy, that podcast has this many. And, when will we get there? And so for me, it's been encouraging just to go, okay, you know what? Want to just listen to these stories and then, try to champion those stories to other people has been, just a huge joy, just a huge part of it. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
been,
used to be trying to like show off how much I knew and how smart I was and how successful I was. And that did never really work because no one wants to be around that kind of person. But I think when you listen to other people and merely just show that you understand and just ask them questions, it's not like you're agreeing with everything, but practicing something called active listening. I wish someone told me that 30 years ago, Jason, that it really was that simple.
yep. Oh, boy, I love that. And I love, you brought in the time issue and the presence because those things are, that's what deepens the relationship and memorable. We may have the greatest social media marketing plan. We may have, all the things happening, but if we haven't built trust with those people, it's just so powerful. And for me, you know, selfishly, I've been looking so forward to this conversation just because I've watched so many of, your podcast and interviews because we're trying to do a better job of making sure we rank and, we're doing the SEO the right way and all of that kind of stuff because it's a tough world to navigate. So for some of our people who are trying to do a better job with that, I've listened to many podcasts
Yeah.
about your dollar a day strategy.
Yeah.
Kind of walk us through that. Why is it so effective? Kind of give us the heartbeat behind it.
So for the math geeks out there, the dollar a day is really nothing more than taking advantage of the fact that all the algorithms of Google and Facebook and Amazon and YouTube and TikTok are relying upon something called a collaborative filter. And a collaborative filter is a kind of math way of saying like people who bought this thing also will buy that. Or people who click on Donald Trump videos will be fed more Donald Trump videos, right? And if you listen to this song, you might also like to listen to that song. You understand there's kind of math that recommends things to you, right? And if you're on LinkedIn, well, this person's also connected to that person. And so that you understand the algorithm's trying to, of all the things, it can't show you everything. So it's trying to show the things that you might like, because then when you spend more time, then the network makes more money. And that's how the ad model works in digital, right? So dollar a day taps into the fact that the algorithm is trying to find content that your audience wants. So what is the way to get the algorithm to show your content to the people that you want to get in front of? Guess what? Well, it's if you have content with people in the audience that you want to reach, or the people that they respect, and you interview them on your podcast, you pull out those snippets, you practice active listening, highlight, edify those people that your target audience respects. It's kind of like Inception, right? The game inside the game inside the game. You put that out, you push it for $1 a day, which means boosting a post on Twitter or Facebook, edifying them. You can target their audience or not, depending on whether the LinkedIn or Facebook or Twitter allows you to target in that way. And you establish super high relevance. I'll give you an example. My friend Caleb Williams, he's arguably the number one guy in life insurance selling, especially on social media. He's the keynote speaker for the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, and he's well known, has his own conference, right? And every opportunity I've had to be with him, I've been on his podcast multiple times. I've spoken at his conference. And of course, he says all these good things about me because I'm his mentor, that kind of thing. But then what happens is I'll take snippets of me and Caleb talking about how he grew his brand, how he sold his first deal, how he worked at Foster Farms and cut chickens and made $1 per chicken that he processed, or any kinds of stories, right? And I put that out there on Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and whatever channel, and I boost it for $1 a day, targeting his audience, targeting people who are members of the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, targeting people that have been on his podcast. Guess what happens when I boost it for $1 a day? Content showing him in video, him and I together, targeting his audience. What kind of engagement do you think I get on that?
Oh, I bet
It's through the roof.
yeah,
So I'm
bet it
getting
soars.
40% engagement rate. And those of us that do digital marketing professionally, we know that anything above 1 or 2% is usually incredible. And advertising is usually 0.1%. So
Wow.
I've tried this thousands of times. It's like a cheat code that people don't seem to understand, but it's so obvious in hindsight. So I've made videos, for example, don't hate, like me and Grant Cardone, right? So I'll take videos of me and Grant Cardone talking about how to sell or how to make videos or how to do whatever. And instead of promoting my stuff, I will take that video with Grant Cardone and I'll target it against Grant Cardone's audience. Super high relevancy. Now I'm getting 20, 30, 40% engagement rate. I'm not selling, right? I had Grant make a video on how to make a 1 minute video. So instead of saying like, hey, you should make a 1 minute video, it's really important. You need to show your face, get in front of the cell phone. Instead, he actually makes a super high engaging video. I boost it to his audience. And that builds an initial first touch where people can see that I'm friends with Grant Cardone because in the video he mentions me and says some nice things. And then I can retarget to these other people who already see, like, initially, they don't know who I am. I'm nobody. But
Right.
they know who Grant Cardone is, and they see me and Grant Cardone are talking about some stuff. Then the next, because remember, the algorithm's always going to try to show you the next thing. I'm not trying to win in the first, this is chess, right? So in the next video, the next thing in the feed, They're more, this happens to me all the time, like thousands of times. And people who have done this, they tell me it works and you'll find it works too. I'm like, yeah, I see, I told you, right? Then once they discover that I'm more closely related to Grant Cardone or Caleb Williams or Tom Hawkins or these other people, it starts showing me to these other people in the audience that I want to reach. And then now they're more like, now they sort of like, oh, I know who that guy is. Now they're more likely to listen to what I have to say.
Mm.
And then they're more likely to buy. So if I'm a professional service, if I'm a lawyer, if I'm a real estate agent, if I'm a mortgage broker, there's a million people that do the same thing, right? But they're more likely to buy from me because they see I'm connected to someone else they trust. And that's the whole point of Dollar a Day. I'm not trying to directly sell. Dollar a
Ah.
Day technically is advertising, but what I'm doing is I'm sharing my knowledge. I'm edifying other people and I'm paying with my own. It's only cost me $7. It's Dollar a Day for 7 days. Okay, so anyone can spend $7. Starbucks costs more than that now.
Yeah.
So I'm spending $7 to edify them. So you and I together on your podcast. So snippets of this will come out. We'll take a few stories, and I will spend my money, Jason. I'll spend $7 of my money, and I'll promote this to a combination of your audience and my audience, and see which stories perform the best.
Mm.
And because the algorithm will tell us that the math guy inside of me knows the data is going to tell us what performs the best. I don't know. I have an idea of what I think it might be, but I'll be wrong.
Don't just hope for better client conversations. Equip yourself for them. The Speak with Your Client series is live from April 14th to May 30th, packed with powerful tools to help you build trust and close more deals without being salesy. Catch expert-led podcasts, weekly blogs, live webinars on Mondays, and grab your free copy of the High Trust Sales Playbook. Make sure you're following Speak with People on all the socials. Join the speakers group on Facebook or the Speak with Your Client LinkedIn group just for the series. Don't miss a moment. Everything's waiting for you at speakwithpeople.com/speak with your client. Your next client is counting on it. Wow. And I think many of us too, we believe that, the algorithm only is going to grab hold of the sensational, the trolls who are just being, awful human beings. And what I love, hearing what you're saying is you're highlighting relationships, you're highlighting knowledge, you're highlighting all those things. We don't have to tap into all of that other ugly stuff that seems to happen online.
No, no, I'm not trying to go viral. I'm not talking about, politics. I'm not trying to like post funny cat videos that go crazy. No, those of us who are professionals, like my friend Glenn Vo is a dentist. He's a dentist. He's not trying to sing and dance on TikTok or whatever. He's making content for other dentists. He's trying to get more people to his dental practice in Texas, just outside of, or in Denton, which is the suburb of Dallas, right? So he's connecting with other dentists. I have a friend, his name is Dr. Hugh Flax. He's a dentist in Atlanta, and he wants to obviously have more clients for cosmetic dentistry and children's dentistry and emergency dentistry and root canals and all those kinds of things. Is he trying to be an influencer? No, he's not like boxing like Jake Paul trying to create a commotion, but he's talking about his family
Right.
and he's talking about his favorite things in Atlanta. And he's talking about his morning ritual on how he always makes sure that he, takes care of his health first and spends family time and spends time in the Word and does these things, exercises before he even starts his business day. And that resonates with certain people. He's not talking about like what kind of equipment they use to drill teeth or anything like that, but that drives people into his dental practice.
Wow.
Isn't it crazy? Those
Wow.
of us that are professionals in a certain, we sell insurance. Okay, fine. I could buy insurance from anybody, Jason. Do I really know that all the ins and outs of every detail about insurance? No, but I'm going to buy insurance
Mm.
from the guy or gal I trust. And I think that those of us who are like super technical and super into our field think we need to be talking about how exactly the IRA policies have changed with the tax code. And like, that's not why people buy.
Right. Right. Wow. Wow. Boy, I love that. I mean, it's just, it's right back to how important your relationships are and your influence and being a person who legitimately cares. I mean, I've read probably everything Zig Ziglar has ever put out, but it's just
Yeah.
so incredibly true that if you help other people succeed, uh, yeah, I mean,
And you
it
get
just,
everything you want.
yeah, it
Yeah.
has a way of coming back. It's just phenomenal. I, I
Yeah.
just love it. Walk us through. So, uh, I'm a small business owner. We'll just use me as an example. Uh,
Uh-huh.
I have been, we've been a little bit, I don't know if we did this the right way or not, but I'm also, our main revenue is speaking and training. So I
Uh-huh.
go out, I get in front of people, and I do
Yeah.
those different kind of things. I didn't want it to be about the Jason Wright show, so we started a company called Speak with People. And so the
Yeah.
dream is eventually we'll have more trainers and speakers, and we'll send people out,
Yep.
to work through our material. So we have Speak with
Yep.
People, and then we have Jason
Yeah.
Wrights. And so, now, we kind of have all of these different kind of things. And so I have a lot of speaker friends who listen to this podcast and who have been looking forward to
Yeah.
this, for their own every day to day social media. Is Should they concentrate on a different platform? Should they do the same thing in all platforms? Should they, concentrate on the platform that they resonate with? Should you just stick with one? So curious your thought and wisdom on that.
So the general answer people would give, which I don't agree with, is choose the one platform that resonates with your audience.
Hmm.
And that logically makes sense, but I disagree because most of us who are speakers or podcasters or YouTubers or professionals, you have the speaking coaching program and whatnot. Most of us are so small, it doesn't even matter
Hmm.
because the biggest problem is visibility. You're not trying to become some million subscriber YouTube sort of person. You're selling coaching programs, helping people speak better and whatnot. And anyone who's selling professional services, it's a matter of those connections. And I think that if you take, okay, so for example, you could talk about Jason Rates, you could talk about the podcast and all that and sell it and say, hey, I offer these coaching services to help you speak better and build connections that helps drive your sales, selling because you sell insurance or whatever. Great. But everyone knows what that is. That's not special, right? Oh, but I could teach you technique and charisma and better camera angles and like, okay, great. But here's what's different that no one's doing. What do you think would perform better, Jason? You learning how to create a great 1 minute sales pitch to get people to sign up for your coaching programs to be a better speaker. And it's just Jason this and Jason that, and Jason's talking about this and that. Or stories of other people in your program, and they're telling their story and talking about what they learned. And you're doing 10 or 20% of the talking. They're doing the talking. They're talking about their hopes, dreams, and fears, about their situation. And you are constantly elevating these other people. And then you run dollar a day against it. So that someone who is a, you know, insurance broker, let the algorithm reach other insurance brokers, just like that girl, right? Or someone who is a car salesperson or
Wow.
sells IT services, let the
Yep.
algorithm find other people who also sell cars and sell IT services and sell all these other things. What's more powerful? You talking about yourself and how great your business is and how awesome your podcast is, or the stories of these other people and you're elevating them and that that respects your audience, that brings more people that you want to reach. You like, what, I'm kind of like that person. I feel like if they went through this journey, I feel like I could go through that journey too. And I saw they work with Jason.
Ah, so good. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And what I love what you just modeled there is you kind of taught us, through a story. And actually this whole episode, it's been a master class in story. And so that's why I resonate so much with all the interviews I've watched from you in the past and all of those different kind of things. You just can't help yourself. You just keep telling stories and weaving people in. And it's brilliant. And more of us leaders, we need to remember that and continue to do that. How do you, yeah, I recognize, and this is just my own, I could be totally off here. You're very intelligent, right? I mean, you talked about in the beginning, you probably, have maybe a couple steps up above the normal person. But when it comes to remembering, I mean, you're recalling all of these things. Do you have any tricks? I think this would help leaders. Any habits that you do? Is there anything that you try to just position yourself so you do remember these stories, you do remember what happened, the names, all those different kind of things?
So there's a lot of guys that will give you memory techniques, build memory palaces, and say their name 3 times first time you meet them,
Right.
and those are great. But I have my own spin on that, and that is when someone tells me a couple of details. For example, you adopted this Chinese kid, Kai, at 8 years old, and he's good at math, but he's on the spectrum. I try to remember just one detail out of any kind. I mean, because if you try to grab for everything, you grab nothing. Okay, just try to remember one key
Wow.
detail, and then take action upon it immediately. And my favorite action is to send people a pair of socks with their face on them. And that causes them to remember me.
Yep.
And it also honors them because I didn't send them a pair of socks with my face. I
Right.
sent them a pair of socks with their face. And I can't tell you how many people have a pair of socks with their face on them. Their wife won't throw away that pair of socks even after years and years because you're not going to throw that away. Right. And it's like I'm now in their sock drawer for the rest of my life and their life. And it just creates these that just that the one moment. And maybe maybe I'll have our VAs try to find a picture of Kai and send you, a pair of socks with his face on them, right?
Uh,
But
well,
my memory technique is to isolate the one moment and try to
yep.
take some action. And maybe in a follow-up email, I'll just recall one thing that you said. And all I have to do is just recall one thing, and that's it. Because most people don't even do that.
Yep. Yep.
Anybody can remember one thing.
Right. 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 Oh, so powerful. So powerful. I've got to ask you, this is you've given us so much great gold for our client communication, marketing and strategy, but you're also someone who speaks professionally. I mean, at a rate and a level that many of us are like, whoo, we dream of kind of getting to that place. What was it like when you that first time you stepped on stage? Because and what did you work through in order to get to that place? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Was it difficult? Could you ever imagine yourself doing it? And then did you ever think you'd kind of get to the place you are now?
No, I never thought I was going to be a speaker. I was scared to death. I felt like I'm not going to be a Tony Robbins. I'm an introverted kind of guy.
Uh-huh.
And like me, though, as a search engine engineer at Yahoo, we had to send people to conferences to go speak and teach about SEO and this kind of thing. So the other engineers would just send Dennis to go speak. And it wasn't that I was a great speaker necessarily. It's just that I was the least worst of the other engineers. So they would just send me because none of them wanted to speak. So I just got a lot of practice doing it. And I remember once I was the closing keynote at a conference with 2,000 something people. It was about the future of CRM, if you can remember, back in the days, like 25 years ago. I remember I got there late to the conference. They had to get everyone to wait for me and mic me up and rush me up on the stage. And I forgot what I was going to say in the first 30 seconds when I was on stage because they play the walkout music. And I'm scared to death. I'm like, the chill is going through me. It's a big stage. So it takes like 30 seconds to walk out to the middle of the stage. And then I'm there in the center of the stage. I look out across the audience. I don't even remember what it was I was going to say. So I think I paused for like 20 seconds maybe. I just looked across the audience thinking, I have no idea what I'm going to say. I don't even remember what the first slide was because I put it together at 3 a.m. in the morning and on the flight over and I forgot. But then I remembered. So then I started talking. And afterwards, people came up to me and they said, wow, that was an amazing speech you gave, especially in the very beginning when instead of talking right away, you had so much poise to just, establish like your presence. I'm like, establish my presence? What are you talking about? So I've then used that, this, unintentional trick. Now, every time I go speak, because this is what most people do. They come right up, the people are clapping, you walk up to the podium or whatever, and then what do? They immediately start talking. Thank you for having me here. It's such an honor to speak at such and such conference.
Yep.
Thank you, John, for inviting me. ruined. They just ruined the most powerful moment because when you pause, think about, Jason, what happens when you pause just for 5 or 10 seconds? People are wondering, they're waiting. They're like, oh, what's he
Right.
going to say? He hasn't
Yep.
said anything yet. They're like, you have this, you have that moment of anticipation and you don't want to blow it by
Right.
just blurting out whatever, like, oh, it's really cold out there, isn't it? Like, oh, go, did the Clippers won? Wasn't that really cool? Yeah, go Clippers. Or no, you don't, it seems rude. Like you think like you're supposed to thank the people. Thank you, Jennifer, for bringing me here. Like, no, you start immediately with a story.
Mm, right.
When I was 18, I wanted to be a professional athlete running for Nike. And I got rejected because Shelly Bridges, the intern coordinator, said I didn't meet the world-class qualifying times. And that memory burned forever inside me as an 18-year-old. See, imagine opening with that versus like, oh, thank you so much for having me at this conference. And it's so nice. And boy, that was a lot of meat during lunch, wasn't it? Yeah, I know after lunch, we have the after lunch coma, don't we?
Yep.
You see the difference?
Yep. So
I was
powerful.
last year, I was invited to be a keynote speaker at the, so if you're a professional speaker, then you know that at the I had the highest honor among all the seven-figure speakers to speak at this conference for professional speakers
Wow.
and teaching them because I'm one of the seven-figure speakers. There's a room full of seven-figure speakers, and here I am trying to speak in front of professional speakers, and of course they're analyzing everything I do, the way I walk up, my first words, my techniques, all these things, right? So I really feel like I'm being judged in an audience full of NSA, the National Speaker Association, right? Not the NSA government spy on you, NSA, right?
Right.
But it's so interesting, right? 'Cause being in front of a room of a couple thousand professional speakers, they speak professionally, and I'm the big keynote. And who am I to be speaking in front of these people? Yet they're suffering from the same things that you and I were just talking about
Yep.
because they're so busy thinking about their talk track and about what they speak on and how good of a speaker they are and lining up more speaking. They forget to collect stories and honor other people. When you spend more time honoring other people, you never run out of content and you never
Oof.
look like a douchebag.
Wow. So good. Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, hey, as we wrap this conversation, I mean, I could drill you with another 100 questions because this is so powerful. But uh, we use the phrase "speak with your client, not at them." Around here, and we actually do a training based on that. I would love, as you hear that and process it, what's your take on that? What's something that you thought of when you hear that phrase, when you think of your client communication?
So, Jason, I've heard you say speak with people, not at people many times. And that tells me that active listening is the critical skill.
Mm.
And most people who are trying to sell think they need to convince. I think people convince themselves
Ooh.
based on whether they like you. And the active listening is when someone tells you something. For example, earlier today, my friend Tom picked me up and we went to lunch here in downtown Minneapolis. And he told me he lost 127 pounds because of gastric bypass surgery. And instead of saying, most people would follow up with a question about that or talk about their weight loss or talk about whatever. I merely just reflected back, gastric bypass. And then he went into that. And so I find that when you speak with people, if you take whatever they said to you, the last two words, and just repeat just those two words back to them, you just keep doing that, which sounds weird, sounds too simple. You'd be surprised at where the conversation goes. And you'll
Wow.
be surprised at how well people feel like they're heard, even when you're not even asking a question,
Yep.
merely just repeating back the last couple of words that they said. People feel heard, people feel acknowledged. You're not even agreeing with them.
Yep. Wow. I love that. I love that. Let's finish this way. Let me ask you a couple of rapid fire questions. Our listeners know we're building this online communicators library where we ask all of our guests some of their favorites, so our listeners can go and get new ideas and have some new places to listen. So we talk about speaking a lot on this podcast. Do you have a favorite speaker? Someone that every time you hear them, they just check the boxes, fill your cup. You've got to tell somebody else about them.
I'm a big fan of David Meerman Scott
Hmm.
because he weaves in personal stories of the Grateful Dead. He collects guitars, and he and I were together a few days ago, and he said, "You got to see the Dead. They're having a show at the Sphere in Las Vegas, and it's a life-changing experience. Dennis, you need to go. I don't care what the tickets cost. Just go by." And he's always sharing and making connections. And yes, he checks all the boxes for a very successful business owner who's got lots of successful things going on and very eloquent. He's the main marketing person who speaks at all the Tony Robbins conferences and whatever. I mean, yes, he's got all the professional things. But what I really like is that in a world full of people that are kind of plastic because of this whole influencer social media thing, David Meerman Scott strikes me as very real.
Mm.
And I have such, I don't even know how to be like that. It's just, I don't even know how to identify that authentic kind of thing. I just, every time I hear him speak, I wonder if he'll do like ballroom dancing with his partner. And he'll do things that are like embarrassing, I guess, just to demonstrate that you can.
Yeah.
And so it causes me to think in different ways.
Oh, I love that. I love it. If you're a podcast listener, not everybody is, but if you are, is there a guilty pleasure or a development podcast that you just keep going back to and that you highly recommend?
Lately, I've been listening to Jefferson Fisher, who talks
Mm.
about your next conversation. And this is an attorney who would make little cell phone podcasts from the car about how to handle objections or being around negative people or people who talk too much or people who try to put you down. How do you respond to them? And I find just driving, listening to him, I learn new techniques. Like
Yep.
when someone gives you an insult, how do you respond to that? You let their words drop to the floor. You don't speak right away. And instead you say, that comment is beneath my level of respect to respond to. Oh, wow. I'd never thought about saying it that way,
Right.
right? Or can you imagine someone like someone, let's say, Jason, someone insults you. And instead of like trying to come back with something snappy or, oh, yeah, or trying to argue with them, you say, imagine if saying that you thought, imagine if you thought that was a clever thing. What was the point of saying something like that?
Mm.
Was that intended to be hurtful? Now they look like a jerk, right? Just like interesting ways like that. So it's not that you want to have to worry about battling other people, but it's nice to have those defenses when people, because there's a lot of people that are mean. I mean, even good people can be mean in difficult situations.
Yep.
I learn a lot that way.
I love it. Uh, Last one, you run into a friend. They're about to hop on a boat that's taking them to a desert island. They can only bring one book to read. What's that book you're sending them with?
Principles by Ray Dalio. It's a billionaire who started the world's largest hedge fund. And it's not about making money or being rich. It's about how to think logically around the blind spots that you have. Most of us have blind spots. We're not aware of what they are by definition. And that ties into things like Dunning-Kruger. The Dunning-Kruger effect will change your life if you know what it is.
Powerful, powerful. This has been such an honor. I mean, you are so real. Thank you so much for your authenticity, your transparency, your vulnerability, and just thank you for your wealth of wisdom. So thank you for your time today on the podcast.
Appreciate you, Jason.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Speak with People podcast. It means the world to us when you share this episode. Thanks for liking, subscribing, or following the podcast. That really does help the podcast get into more ears and into more leaders listening. Also, don't forget, we have 2 exciting resources for you. The first is go to Facebook and join the Speakers Group. This is a community designed for leaders who want to grow their communication skills. Also, go to speakwithpeople.com/skills library to access the Communication Skills Library. It is an online resource chock filled with resources that will inspire you and transform you and grow your communication skills. Thanks again for being a part of the listening community. We cannot wait for the next episode.